Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Doctor, and it is Thursday night here in the Pacific Northwest. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Nagrarok, and we're going to be seeing whether or not you should be getting it, which I think you should, and what version you should be getting, and what you should be planning for in comparison to the other weapons that you might have in your current arsenal. So for those of you that don't know, Nagrarok is a sword that is currently farmable from the Final Fantasy Tactics EX quest that we have right now. And what you're seeing in front of you is, of course, our new overlay, which is super amazing, you guys. And what we have here is a chart of all the current craftable weapons in Global that are swords, and a comparison to the Nagrarok. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the stats here and weigh them against the other swords. The first thing you're going to notice is that Nagrarok gets that slash attack plus 15, which will be relevant in our conversations going forward from here. You're going to see that the Assault class of Nagrarok gives attack 162. The Magic type gives Magic 112 and attack 81. And then you're going to see that the Vitality build gives HP 64, attack 129, and Magic 89. So the first thing I'm going to say here is that you probably don't want to build your Nagrarok, holy cow, for a Vitality build, because you're almost always going to have a piece of gear that is going to surpass that HP value. So you're really not going to have that really meaty HP from the weapon. I would say most of the time there's going to be a TMR or something else that's just going to void that out entirely. So in terms of types, what we're really going to be looking over here is going to be the Assault type and the Magic type. Now, for those of you that were lucky enough to play when Final Fantasy XIV rolled out in the very beginning of the game, you're probably familiar with the Lionheart, and while I don't expect all of you have a Lionheart plus 5, some of you might have a plus 3, some of you might have recipes waiting for the quality of life adjustment, and that's kind of where we're going to start our first discussion here. In terms of the Lionheart, it does have more attack than the Nagrarok, and if you have an aim Lionheart, it has way more accuracy. It also has a passive crit of plus 3, which will always help you. And so the question kind of becomes, well, if you have the Lionheart replica plus 5, why do you need the Nagrarok plus 5? And, you know, that's a reasonable question to ask. And there's a couple factors that I would take into account here. One, I think that there may be units in the future that, what if you need to equip 2 swords? I mean, what if suddenly you have Mont in a party and, you know, you want something a little bit stronger than Excalibur or anything along those lines. Although, to be honest, I think Excalibur might be better than the Nagrarok, and we'll be getting into that in a little bit. So if I were you guys, I would at least store up on a couple of the recipes. Maybe you're out there and you only have a Lionheart plus 3, and the Final Fantasy XIV event is never going to come back, and so that Nagrarok plus 5 will eventually outdamage you. For free-to-play players or new players, the Nagrarok plus 5 is going to be the first opportunity for you to actually get a really strong sword weapon, right? Because they might not have access to Lionheart, so something to think about there. In comparison to the Mithril Saber, you see, we got critical and aim here, and the Mithril Saber with critical is going to give 10 critical hit. So for any type of critical hit build, you're not going to be using the Nagrarok. In terms of aim, you notice that the Mithril Saber plus 5 has the same amount of aim as the Lionheart replica. It does have substantially less attack, though, so I don't think you'll ever be using that. But again, that's sort of your aim option if you're looking for accuracy. Finally, we want to compare the magic side of the Nagrarok to the Sleep Blade. So the Sleep Blade is a weapon that you can buy in the shop, and it maxes out at a magic of 126, which is about 16 higher than the Nagrarok. Now, if I were someone out there, I would probably still use the Nagrarok plus 5 magic sword as the best sword over the Sleep Blade. There's a couple of reasons for this. There's a lot of magic users out there who do use swords that have physical sub-jobs where they're still physically attacking or using slash attack abilities with slash attack modifier, and you're also going to need that attack on there. So in terms of like a hybrid build for magic, Nagrarok does come in the second for magic, but it still has a whopping 81 attack on it. So for units like Ramza out there, who the sword launched with, right, going to be a very powerful build in order to focus on building up those hybrid Spellblade users. So while Sleep Blade is always out there, I think you're going to find that the Nagrarok plus 5 magic build is going to be stronger almost across the board, and it's going to be significantly easier to actually achieve. Now, we do have 2 weapons here that are not on this list that are uncraftable. And that's going to be Vermilion and Excalibur. Vermilion, of course, is Gafgarian's TMR, very easily accessible. Has an attack of 122, critical of 5, and we're going to ignore the HP component of it. It does have a chance to also confuse your opponents whenever you are attacking with it. I would say this sword is really good on like a tank character, right? It's going to be great on those Engelberts where you want to attack and you want that status effect to go off. It's going to be great on the Mons out there that are wearing it. I don't think that the Vermilion actually is comparable in many ways to the Nagarok. I think, yeah, its attack can be similar under Assault, but honestly, I think that crit plus 5 isn't doing anything for it, and if you're using the Vermilion, you're going to be using it for the confusion aspect. And then, of course, the Nagarok has it beaten with its magic side, so I would say, you know, this is out there. It might be a stronger option on tanks than Nagarok, and I would just consider that. Now, when we're talking about Excalibur, we're talking probably about magic builds and physical builds. And you can see here that the attack is 120, the magic is 72, right? So it's immediately almost got the reverse stats of the Nagarok, leaning towards the physical side. The other stats that it has, though, is 24 accuracy and 9 critical hit. And that is a beefy accuracy, you guys, especially as we are finding ourselves in a meta where there's increasingly more evasion units. This accuracy is going to be increasingly more relevant. Not only that, it also has a 9 additional chance to crit, which is almost as strong as the crit builds on some of the swords that we saw previously. So the question is then, is the Excalibur better than the Nagarok? And honestly, I think it potentially is, but also recognize that the Nagarok has more magic, and Nagarok also has that slashing attack plus 15 modifier on it that the Excalibur doesn't have. So let's take a look at the pros and cons of the Nagarok and talk about where you might use it and why you might want to build it. So the Nagarok does have the second highest attack next to Lionheart if you're doing the assault build. It's an excellent hybrid sword, right? So it's going to really focus on those units like Ramza and Gilgamesh, although you should not be using it on Gilgamesh if you have that Frost Blade. It's going to be the second strongest magic sword. And then, of course, we have that slash attack 15 versus Excalibur. Now, some of the drawbacks on it is going to be there's no accuracy, there's no critical hit, it is exceeded by Lionheart, and Excalibur has quote-unquote more relevant stats. So for me, I know I'm going to be crafting a copy of the magic one, just because I never know what I'm going to need in the future. And I never want to be in one of those situations where I suddenly find myself in need of 2 one-handed swords, and all I have is Excalibur. I think that with the content that's coming out in the future, with the units that are coming out in the future, we are going to need at least a little bit a diverse weapon selection, right? That's kind of the content we're looking at right now. This game is very horizontally built. It's not very vertically built. So yes, you might not be able to use the sword right away. It might not be something you need today, but who knows later down the road when you're doing tower content and you need to have 2 units with swords in your comp and one of them leans towards magic, and you're sitting there with just an Excalibur and you're like, well, shit, I should have farmed for the Nagarok when I had the chance. That's the type of stuff that you need to be thinking about now in terms of optimizing your build and planning for all of your characters that you're going to be having in the future. Talking a little bit more about the future in the current, I do just want to go over some units that a Magic Nagarok would be best for you guys, because I think we don't realize how many relevant units this sword could be good for, especially in comparison to like a Sleep Blade in the future, which we might have to farm for, or we might not even be able to awaken to +5, right? So of course the first unit right now coming out in the Final Fantasy Tactics 2 is going to be Agrius. Agrius actually has subjob Cleric in the future, so there are attacks if you're subbing Cleric on Agrius that are going to be modified by magic. Something to think about there. The next unit is going to be Miranda. Miranda will be coming out in the future, a Red Knight and Knight type of class. She's going to be very powerful. She will have magic attacks in her kit, so a magic sword will suit her very well. Of course, we have Warrior of Light coming out in the future as well. We have Little Leela currently, if you guys are currently looking to build a Spellblade sort of on the lower tier in your SR ranks. Ramza right now and Gilgamesh, both great units for the magic build sword. That slash attack +15 for Gilgamesh right now I think would be really powerful for those of you who maybe aren't able to fully awaken a Frostblade. Adelard, my favorite unit and my personal sweetheart, he is going to be incredible with it, and he's going to be coming out soon. He's only an MR unit, but I mean, who's not going to be leveling Adelard, right? Finally, we have Murmur, who would actually be incredible with it. Keep in mind, Murmur is the anti-god killer right now. So Murmur is the slaughterer of Sid, and she is very good at what she does. So she would be the last unit that I would recommend to get a magical Nagarok for. And you never know, one day, you guys, you might pull Warrior of Light, you might pull Agrius, and you might just be screwed. So overall, I would recommend go for the Magic Nagarok. That's what you should really be building for right now. Don't build up that Assault Nagarok. Very, very limited situations would I recommend the Assault Nagarok. Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you watching and listening. We did try out a new format here, and we actually created a new UI, my husband did. So please just let me know what you guys think of it, if you think the new UI is helpful, if you like kind of the guide on the left hand of the screen guiding you through. We thought about putting a webcam in. We really weren't sure how we were going to do it. So let me know what you guys think, and I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback down in the comments section. Have a great day, you guys, and enjoy the rest of your evening.